Hello, security pros, and good afternoon. And thank you for joining us on today's ESA webinar that is titled Pre-Attrition Indicators You Need to Know. Identify the drivers behind your customers' likelihood to stay. We all know that gaining new customers is a top priority for any security company. Customer acquisition cost, or CAC, reveals how much you spend to attract new customers. But the question is, how many of those customers don't remain for the long term, and why do they leave? During this webinar, MacGuard CEO Kirk MacDowell, a 40-year security industry veteran, and Deb Moretti, former Director of Customer Experience at Guardian Protection, will discuss how your security business can thrive if you focus on retaining customers. I'm Hannah Boone, ESA's Marketing and Communications Manager, and I'm excited to lead this webinar today. But before we dive in, I'd like to give some tips for those of you joining on potentially your first ESA webinar. First of all, welcome. You will be muted for the duration of this session, but that does not mean that we don't want to hear from you. If a question or comment ever comes to mind at any point during today's session, please click the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, and I'll ensure that we save some time for your questions with our experts today towards the end. We will also be recording this webinar, so you can rewatch the on-demand session and share it with your colleagues. Tomorrow, you will receive an email thanking you for your attendance today, along with a link to the recording. And also, calling all security pros who are ready to take your career to new heights, please do not miss out on the opportunity to join us at ESX, the Electronic Security Expo in 2024, taking place June 3rd through 6th in Louisville, Kentucky. It is the premier event for the electronic security and life safety industry, with engaging sessions, valuable networking opportunities, and cutting-edge technology exhibits. ESX promises to be an unforgettable experience. But hurry, early bird rates are ending soon, actually a month from today. So register before April 20th just to secure your spot at a discounted rate. Visit ESXweb/register today and invest in your security business. We at ESA realize that your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending some of that time with us today. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to our professionals, starting with Kirk MacDowell. Take it away.
Hey, Hannah, thanks very, very much. Appreciate it. Welcome, everybody. We are so very excited for you to join. Deb, if you could move to the next slide for me. Thank you very much. Well, there you see the MacGuard team, with the exception of Joy Curtis, who is not there, but she's on the right-hand corner of the side in your box. Joy runs our marketing. I am privileged to work with some of the best people I think have been in the industry for many, many years. If you add up all our experience, and with Joy's as well, it's probably about 130 years of security alarm experience. Today, Bill's not on the call, but not to be forgotten, Bill runs a lot of our sales programs at MacGuard for your builder market. And also if you're having issues with in your sales department, Bill comes in and works those out with you. And he has a lot of experience in that realm. But I'm pleased to share the stage today with someone who I really admire. I've known Deb probably about 25 years. And Deb is a former director of customer experience at Guardian Protection. And when I talked to dealers and integrators that Deb has worked with over the years, they said, we love Deb. So Bill and I are kind of second fiddle to Deb. She really does a great job with our dealers and integrators, and specifically on today's talk. So Deb, I will turn it over to you.
Great. Well, thank you. And thank you, Hannah, for having us at ESA today. We're looking forward to meeting and talking with all of your members. We're going to talk a little bit today about customer satisfaction. And one of the things that MacGuard believes in is saying, you don't know what you don't know. And I'm sure we've all heard that before. In other words, you may think you fully understand what your customers think about you, but unless you ask them, you actually don't. So we've conducted surveys, obviously, over the last several years. And what we have found from the integrators in the security industry is that 33% of alarm dealers are using transactional surveys. And what I mean by that, for a transactional survey, it's measuring a specific customer interaction, such as immediately following your installation and activation of a new system, or after a call into customer service or a service call. One of the other things that we learned was that 67% of alarm dealers do not use relational surveys. And a relational survey measures the overall health of your relationship with customers. And it's a survey that is, more than one or two questions. It may take 5 minutes to complete, and you only use that to send a customer at the maximum once a year. So why are customer satisfaction surveys important? Well, they gather customer feedback that can be used to improve the overall customer experience, from the products that you sell and install and the services a company offers to the business processes that work towards supporting customer satisfaction. Kirk?
I think we've all heard the saying, paralysis by analysis. We are collecting, when I say we as the industry, not only security, but telecommunications industry are collecting much more data than we've had 10 years ago. The issue is we get this data, we believe we know what to do with it, so we implement bits and pieces of responses that we hear from clients, and we fail miserably. As a matter of fact, we've seen some companies where the level of expectation from the client goes up, but the level of the response from the alarm integrator goes down. So we are a huge believer in both transactional surveys and relational surveys. There are a lot of people that do transactional surveys, but MacGuard specializes in relational surveys. That's the one that Deb was talking about year over year. Deb?
So MacGuard and our survey partners go right to the source, the end users. When we conduct surveys on a client's behalf, we are asking on your behalf, and we're asking them, well, how are we doing? How are you doing? Then we quantify and qualify the result, providing actionable plans to address the feedback that we've received from your customers. The result, obviously, are happier customers, less attrition, and higher multiples that are being paid for companies that are looking to sell their businesses.
So essentially, we provide a crystal ball for you, and we determine how happy your customers are based upon their responses. So the definition of customer service is a measurement that determines how happy your customers are with your company's products, services, and your capabilities. Sometimes we find during a survey that you're offering a service or a possible capability of the services you provide that you may not be ready to implement at the time. And so we help you through that process and help identify which you should be spending more time on and probably less time on as well.
So there are the key benefits of a customer satisfaction survey, and these are the major ones where you are gaining that valuable feedback from your customers to, one, determine the areas of improvement, but also to learn where you're doing things really well. You'll understand your customers better. You'll be able to identify trends in the results that you receive to retain your existing customers, maintain their loyalty, reduce bad word of mouth, and obviously deliver a great customer experience. So probably one of the greatest things I love about surveying customers, and I did this a lot in my experience at Guardian Protection, where we did, in fact, survey our customers once a year. And our survey features 4 customer experience metrics. And these metrics, one, I think most people are familiar with Net Promoter Score, when you're asking, well, how likely are you to recommend us to your friends or colleagues? The second metric is the customer satisfaction score. And we have an overall customer satisfaction score by asking, how satisfied are you with us? And then we drill down into the touch points in your customer journey, in your company, So for example, we're going to ask, how satisfied are you with customer service? And how satisfied are you with sales? How satisfied are you with our monitoring station? And you will receive a customer satisfaction score for each of those functions in your business. And then lastly, what we've trademarked at MacGuard is our likelihood to stay score. And we are asking your customers how likely they are to continue using your security services. So the first metric, Net Promoter Score, you can see an example here where this is actually a result from one of our surveys. Your Net Promoter Score can be anywhere between, and I'm just going to go ahead here, I'm sorry. It's going to be anywhere between a negative 100 to a positive 100. So this is a good benchmark for any company to have to know, again, how likely your customers are to recommend you. And that should tell you a lot about how well you're doing and how well you have serviced them along the way in their journey with your business. The second metric is the customer satisfaction score. The overall, how satisfied are you with ABC company? And you can see that this particular example, this company's CSAT score was an 89%, which is considered good. And the score range for customer satisfaction, it's calculated, and it's a common metric used to basically take into consideration the number of customers that were very satisfied or satisfied with you. And then you're dividing that by the number of respondents in your survey. So in other words, 100 would be exceptional and 0 would be terrible.
So,
go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, Deb.
So we do track the American Customer Satisfaction Index. It does come out quarterly, and you will see that, customer satisfaction in overall has had its ups and downs. And you'll notice that the big downward trend that you saw here back in 20 and 21 and 22. And that's really when COVID came about, when obviously businesses were struggling with staying in business. And, we obviously didn't have the supply chain that we needed, the help that we needed to run customer service. We were trying to figure out if, working from home was going to work. But as you can see, customer satisfaction has begun to increase over the last year. And that's a really important and satisfying trend to see.
So in every customer satisfaction survey that we've done, the numbers are fairly consistent on that 30% ratio right there. Your clients, people listening on this webinar today, 30% of your clients want to hear more from you about the products and services that you provide. And if you don't let them know, guess who will? It'll be your competition. So this is a great takeaway today, that 30% of your customers want to know more about what you do, not only from a product point of view, so you can sell additional security devices and or life safety devices, but also from a services point of view, additional recurring monthly revenue. And the more the client engages with you, the less likely they are to cancel with you. Deb? Oh, this is me.
Go ahead, Kirk.
Deb usually takes a slide, but the reason I want to take the slide was to pay credit to Deb. So sorry, Deb, for stepping on your toes there. One of the things that Deb does really, really well, I think this is because of her dealer operations, sales operations experience, and then customer experience, not only at Guardian Protection, but also with MacGuard, is Deb peels back the onion. You may get an answer that people are very, very happy with one area of your company, but dissatisfied in other areas of your company. A transactional survey is going to only show you the things that they were happy about within the last 48 hours. A relational survey is going to show you how they think about you through that life expectancy or that year that you're doing the survey. So for instance, Deb will peel back communication, sales department. Were the salespeople on time? Did they present accordingly? Was it done over the phone? How did the sales come in? That whole experience, the installation, the service, the central station, the website, the mobile app, the customer service, and billing. So she will peel back that onion and come up with a score for you in each one of those departments and sub-departments. And that is eye-opening when you read the final report. Deb?
So this is an example of that particular metric when you have your customer satisfaction by touch point. And you can see that we're asking the same question, you know, based on your experiences with us, please rate your satisfaction during each of these events. Shopping and sales experience, installation, normal use of the system, customer service. And we just go through, you know, all of those touch points that your customer has in their journey with your business. You know, they may be a customer that's only been with you a year. They may be a customer that's been with you 10 years. And obviously, every customer is going to basically respond to these questions on the basis of their personal experiences. And you will receive a customer satisfaction score for each of those functions. And that, of course, will help you determine where you need to spend your resources, whether it be, you know, your finances, and whether it be the human resources that you have in your company, to focus on those areas of improvement and celebrate those that you do really well. And you can certainly turn those great things into your marketing to gain new customers and new business. Kirk? Let me just say here too, this is just an example of when a customer is dissatisfied, we're going to drill down into another question, and we're going to ask that customer, well, what best describes your dissatisfaction with customer service, for example? Lack of the rep's professionalism, scheduling service was difficult or not convenient. I did not hear back from anyone as promised. Or they can also write in what their dissatisfaction pertained to.
And before we leave this slide, what Deb and I have found too, that if somebody's really, really happy with your company, they're going to breeze through the satisfaction questionnaire. If there's an area they're dissatisfied, they will drill down and tell you exactly what you did wrong, which is a godsend. I mean, you want to know that. Next, Deb. So one of the things that we talked about, and Deb talked about, is likelihood to stay. Joy did a lot of work on likelihood to stay and our trademark as well on that. 17% of your customers are at risk of leaving your brand. 17% of your customers are at risk of leaving. And wouldn't it be great to know that ahead of time? You know, so many times we measure attrition report. National average today is about 12.3% attrition. We have some MacGuard clients down as low as 6 or 7. We've seen them as high as 16%, which we work with them to lower that number. But at the end of the day, that's after they've left. What we do is we focus on pre-leaving. And how do we mitigate those things beforehand? You have to know what they are. And so we spend a lot of time peeling back the onion, finding out where they are, and then helping you fix those issues so those customers are no longer at risk of leaving you.
Thank you. Okay, and when it comes to customer engagement, we do ask this question in the survey to, you know, from the customer's perspective, ask them, how often do you use your security system? And this is an example of a company where the customers came back and said that they use their system 78%. And I can tell you that I've seen this vary anywhere from 75% to up to as much as 90% and a little bit more. And so much of that has to do with the services that you're offering in your business. And obviously, as time has gone on here, we've evolved into the smart home. And when you have a higher level of smart home customers, those that are using interactive services, that percentage of customers that are using their systems daily obviously increases. If they have locks or lights, and I can tell you, I have a thermostat in my home, and I use my security system, yes, but I use my thermostat more. So these are things that I think that it's great to be able to see that piece of information, and you can also see a lot of this information from your data in your third-party services, whether it be Residio or Alarm.com or M2M. But it's really great to have this piece of information from the customer's perspective.
It is. And Deb, just want to comment one thing about that. You're right. If you're using a Lula or Total Connect or Alarm.com or DMP or anyone's got a back end, you're going to know this number. Most of you already know this number. What you don't know is they're using the system, but how happy are they using the system? So when you combine that data together, it gives you an overall picture of not only their use, but their acceptance of that use.
Exactly. So I want to talk a little bit about, the statistics of the customer satisfaction survey that we've developed for integrators like yourselves. We've been doing this for a long time, and I've been doing it even longer when I worked with Guardian Protection. So the survey can be customized, but we do have a really great survey that works for most integrators. The average survey completion time, the time that it takes a respondent to actually complete the survey, is anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes. And it just really depends on the respondent's satisfaction level. So if they are dissatisfied with a certain touch point in your business, they're going to receive a few more questions. And that is great information for you to get back from them. The average survey response rate is anywhere between 12 to 20%. In other words, if we send out 100 surveys, we get anywhere between 12 to 20 respondents in that 100 surveys sent. That is a pretty good response rate. And I think that has an awful lot to do with the relationships that you have with your customers. We include 3 reminder emails to take the survey, which helps us to increase that survey response rate. And the average survey completion rate, those customers, their prospects, your customers that actually click on the link to take the survey, the completion rate is anywhere between 75 to 90%. And typically it's closer to 90%. So that just basically tells you that there's very little survey fatigue in our survey. Obviously, we all receive a lot of surveys in our life. But I think that when you have a relationship with your customer and you're providing the service that you are, that people do value in their homes and in their lifestyle, they are a little more likely to take your survey than other marketing surveys.
So why do you need to do this? When you started your company or you went to work for your company, there was a DNA that you portrayed to not only your employees, to your customers. And I venture to say that DNA over the last 4 to 5 to 6 years has changed. The core is there, but the portrayal and the way your consumers see you may be a little bit different. So you need to do this to get a baseline. We help to build and restore customer satisfaction, to boost your customer loyalty, and at the end of the day, to reduce attrition. Deb says to keep a customer demands as much skill as to win one. I agree with that, But I would tend to think, and we've found this too, that sometimes keeping customers is even harder than getting new ones. So we help you keep the ones you got. Deb.
All right. Well, again, you want to keep your customers happy. And the truth of the matter is it does cost more to acquire a new customer as opposed to retaining the customers that you have. But what's important is that you have the information that you need to, again, make the improvements that may be necessary in your business, in your processes and your procedures, things that you may not think enough about or may have not had enough customer feedback to identify trends to help you make those improvements in your business. So in existing customers, I think it's important to take care of them. And obviously, your profitability is going to increase by retaining your customers as opposed to losing them.
So when Bill and Deb and I first got together on this about 5 years ago, we were probably in beta for a good 12 to 13 months. A lot of that beta was to ensure that everything was protected and encrypted. We know how important this is to you, how important it is to us. That's in our DNA. So we have worked with an enterprise level firm to do this with us and help to make sure that everything that you provide to us is encrypted through our partner service to make sure that we are all compliant and we stay compliant. Next, Deb.
So just a couple little things that I like to show is about our process flow to run a customer satisfaction survey. Many customers ask us, well, how do we go about doing this? And it really is, I think, fairly simple on our client's end. Most of the work is on our end, but this is a collaborative process. So, the first thing that we do is obviously review the survey, and we can also customize that for our clients. The second thing that we do is our data exchange, and that is basically something where you're going to provide us your customer information so that we can embed that in the survey. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that and the importance and value of that particular process. The third thing is customer notification. We like for our clients to notify their customers that the survey is coming from MacGuard and encourage them to take it. And this really helps with your response rate. And our invitation with the survey link goes out just 2 days after your notification to your customers. And at the end, you will receive an executive summary with all of the reports that are derived from the survey results. Now, when it comes to the hidden values with your customer information, they are exactly that. The customer information that you provide us to embed in the survey is something that your customers will not see, but it gives us the value of being able to filter and segment the information and all of the responses that receive. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Some basic information about your customers, obviously, but we also want to know if this customer is a residential customer versus a commercial customer versus even a small business customer. And it's good to know when that customer came on, so their activation date, and what their contract status is, and maybe what they're paying you in the way of RMR every month. Another thing that is great to have in the hidden values are the panel types. Again, as we have evolved in our businesses over the years, we've installed a lot of different product. And some of those customers may not be as happy as others, dependent on the equipment that they have in their home. or maybe it's how that customer came to you. And they may have come to you from inside sales or from the field or possibly an acquisition. So let's really compare the CX metrics, your NPS, your customer satisfaction score, your likelihood to stay score, with their method of coming to your business. So all of those things are actually provided to you in our executive summary at the end. And again, the data that you're providing is very important to the results of the survey itself. Kirk?
So what can you expect from MacGuard when you're done with this survey? Well, first of all, you're going to know your Net Promoter Score. You're going to get your CSAT score, and it's going to be by touch point. And that's really, really important. So we can then, you can then, or we can, with, if you want us to help you, figure out what area the company needs to have your attention. And then what we like to say, the likelihood to stay, which we believe is the most important score, to see how happy the overall customer involvement with your company is. And that's really the LTS score. I want to comment also on something Deb said about the survey. Just so you know, when the survey goes out, it comes from MacGuard advisors. We lose the name security when the survey comes out to your customers. And we do that because we don't want your customers to think we're another alarm security provider integrator trying to steal the account. So, and that's covered in your letter that goes out, said you're using a trusted company, MacGuard advisors, but we lose the name security. But at the end of the day, these are the 4 things that you're going to see that are very important to you. Also, as we just said, we're going to identify the customer journey with a focus on the touch points that are causing any customer frustration. And you'll have a clear picture of where you want to invest your money and reduce customer attrition due to higher satisfaction, decrease your total acquisition cost, which is really the name of the game. Well, MacGuard does a lot of consulting work for our clients, and those of you on the call today who are clients know that we do things in business sales development. We do strategic consulting, SWOT analysis, and we help with M&A, mergers and acquisitions work. We are not brokers, however. And then Deb's expertise is our customer experience, but we kind of all play together, and we use our own areas of expertise to help out the areas of the company that may need your help. So Deb, with that, next slide. That's how you can reach us. And before we get to question and answer, I want to thank ESA. I want to thank Hannah for giving us the opportunity to do this. I'm very excited about June 3rd to 6th in Louisville, Kentucky, for ESX. I look forward to seeing you all there. And I also want to put in a plug for ESA membership. I'm certain, since you're on this call, you're an ESA member, but you may have let your membership lapse, or you may not be a member. And if you're not a member, or if you've let your membership lapse, give me a call, because MacGuard has a special deal for you. Okay, so Hannah, we'll turn it over to you, see if there's any questions.
Awesome. Yeah, so it looks like we did get a few questions. I'm just going to pull them up over here on my other screen. Okay, yes, here we go. How much should I budget to do a relationship survey? Kirk, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, absolutely. We get asked that question a lot. It's a valid question. To me, it's analogous to going into a distributor and saying, how much is one intrusion panel going to cost, or one camera, or one video device, right? You have column pricing, probably 1 through 4. Maybe some of you may have column 5 pricing. We do the same thing. The larger you are, the less you're going to pay per survey. But you should budget somewhere between $5,000 to $19,000. Now, 19, you go, oh my goodness, that's a lot. That's a big company, right? So we've done them for 5,500. We've done surveys for 5,500. We're doing one right now. Will probably be about $23,000. But it's a very large company. So I would say between 5 and 15 is probably the sweet spot. You do this probably once every 12 to 18 months. We had a client in Palm Springs, California that did it. How many accounts was that, Deb? About 2,000 accounts?
It was about 2,300 accounts.
About 2,300 accounts. And the owner told us that all he needed to do was to save 13 accounts to pay for the survey. 13 accounts. And he did that over 3. He said, okay, I'm going to save it this year, next year, and the third year. And he needed to save 13 accounts. He paid for the survey by saving 13 accounts.
Excellent. All right, so here's another question. What is the deliverable? What will I receive after the survey? Deb, would you like to take that?
Oh, absolutely. At the end of the survey, and just so you understand, our process to do a survey while obviously collaborating with our clients is approximately a 3-month period. From the time we start the conversation to sharing the information, the customer information for the data that's imported and embedded in the surveys, to the time we send the survey and then return our deliverables, which is our executive summary with a variety of reports that will include, filtering and segmenting so that we can identify those great areas and those areas that may need improvement in the executive summary itself.
Great. Okay, let me pull up another question here that we got. All right. What is the time frame from start to finish? Maybe Deb, you can take that one as well.
I did, yes, and it is about a 3-month period. And again, that's from beginning to end, from the time we start that conversation until the time that we provide the deliverables. And those deliverables obviously include our recommendations on the basis of the results that we've received back from the customers.
And I also want to just tag on to that if I can. When Deb gives this report, she gives a PowerPoint, and we can give that. Deb can present that to you or to your team or the entire company, however you want to do. We don't expect you then to retain MacGuard to fix those issues. That's strictly up to you. You may have the wherewithal internally to fix those issues that we've identified. You say, yes, Kirk, thank you. We know about that. We've been working on it. You may hire another consulting firm to help fix those issues. That's totally up to you. We've had clients say, Kirk, you found 7 issues. We want Deb's help to fix 1, 3, and 6, and we'll do the rest. So it's strictly up to you at the end. We hand you the document. Our goal and our dream would be that we'd come back 18 months later and do it again and see how the baseline has gone from here to here. But that's strictly up to you. You can retain MacGuard afterward or not retain. That's completely your choice.
So, all right, and then looking at questions here. Does Bill Graham do other things for MacGuard in addition to the Builder program? Kurt, can you take that?
Yeah, it sounds like probably one of Bill's clients. Yes, I am amazed. Bill and I are now working on it with a client together, and I am amazed at his knowledge. And we say the Builder program because because his claim to fame, I think 8 years ago, Guardian Protection did 50,000 rooftops that year. So I always talk about the Builder program because to me, Bill is like the builder guru, right? But we're working with a client now that basically has very, very limited builder business. And Bill works with his client to help them with pricing, with putting together budgets for planning for growth in the future. So Bill is really very, very knowledgeable. Bill's got 45 years in this business. So he's extremely knowledgeable on business operations, sales operations, and he is just an absolute pleasure to work with. Yeah, he's great.
Awesome. All right, and then looking, we got another question that just came through. It says Deb mentioned interactive services for residential accounts. We are strictly commercial, mostly fire. Is your service a good fit for the commercial integrator?
Absolutely. And we obviously do surveys for a lot of different type of integrators. And we have done surveys for those companies that are primarily commercial. And obviously the survey is developed for specifically that. And that's another reason why I think it's great to collaborate with the customers, because our survey is a great template. But when we work with our clients, it's up to them. If there are other pieces of information that they're trying to gather about their business, we can incorporate those questions into the survey to help them as well. So yes, we can absolutely do that.
And just an add-on to that, Deb answered really, really well. One of the things that's really great, because we have commercial and residential experience, we did a survey for a predominantly commercial company. And one of the things that we picked up on was that we couldn't ask a question to many of his customers about an app, because the reality is he was using an AES radio network to transmit the signals, which at the time did not have an app. And so the reality is you have to be very cautious about the questions you ask. That's why the time from beginning to end takes a long time, because Deb really analyzes it and peels back the onion of your company before we peel back the onion of your customers. So we get those questions resolved before we go to market with a survey.
Absolutely.
Excellent. And it looks like that's all the open questions that we have right now. So
Right.
up to you on whether or not we'd like to close out here or give it a few minutes. Time is yours.
I think we close out. People certainly know how to reach Deb or I. We've been around for a long time. We don't know who's on the call today or who's going to listen in the future, but you're all friends. So feel free to reach out to us at any time that we can help. We will see all of you at ESX. It's in Louisville. Last year was great. It's a great city. Look forward to seeing all of you. And once again, if you're not an ESA member, please join. And if you are a member whose membership have lapsed, please re-sign or call me, and we'll figure out how to get you squared away through ESA. Hannah, thanks very much for your help. Deb, again, great working with you. Joy, thanks for technical on the background. And everybody have a great rest of the week.